Sure.
Welcome to Bruce Hurwitz Presents Meet the Experts. I'm your host, Bruce Hurwitz of Hurwitz Strategic Staffing. I hope you'll consider us for all your staffing, career counseling, and speech writing needs. As today is the anniversary of Pearl Harbor, I think it's important to thank all of our veterans and their families for their sacrifices. Momentarily, I will be joined by Dr. Mitchell Yass, and we'll be discussing chronic pain. Meet the Experts is sponsored by P&K CPAs. P&K is a full-service accounting firm. They provide accounting and consulting services to businesses ranging from startups to small and mid-cap companies to nonprofits, as well as high net worth individuals. Contact them today for a free consultation at info@pk-cpas.com or call them at 973-882-8810. They will be happy to be of service. Mitch, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Bruce. Excited to be here.
It's my pleasure. Please take a moment or two and introduce yourself to our viewers.
So my name is Dr. Mitchell Yass. I specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of pain. I created my own method 30 years ago, which gives me an advantage in diagnosing the cause of your pain, not just attempting to treat it or try to control the level of your pain, but to actually establish what tissue's in distress. And the difference between my method and everybody else is that the primary global concept is that the identification of the cause of your pain can be identified through the use of MRI. I am saying, and I have overwhelming evidence, that that is a baseless mechanism. A better way to approach it is to interpret the body's presentation of symptoms, because those symptoms are happening at the time of the distress of the tissue and helps you to understand what tissue that is. I've shown that in more than 98% of cases, the cause of pain is muscular, even when structural abnormalities are identified on diagnostic testing, which allows me to use a system of strength training that I developed to allow people to be pain-free and fully functional in just weeks.
I will use myself as an example for the first question.
Sure.
I had, and I assume everyone has seen it, but
Everyone is what?
Has seen it, but maybe I'm wrong. The pain chart. Which
Yes.
is from 1 to 10. 1 is a
Yes.
smiley face, 10 is a frown face. Well, I had pain in my upper left leg, and it was a 10. And I knew the cause was I was exercising too much. So I stopped exercising for about 2 weeks. Otherwise, my doctor would have been mad at me. And the pain in my leg went away. And then I discovered that I had pain in my lower back that was probably an 8 or a 9. I looked at my bed, I looked at the mattress, and I realized it had buckled. So I went out, bought a new mattress. Back pain went away. Leg pain, for the most part, went away. But somebody says that they're in pain, they may not know it, because if I had gone to you and said, I have excruciating pain in my leg, that's what you would have focused on. You wouldn't have known about the back because I didn't know about the back. So
that's what's different about my methodology. So what I have done, and this is probably the most important thing you want to understand about how people describe their pain. No one simply says, I have pain. Everyone says, I can't bend down. I can't reach. I can't kneel. I can't walk upstairs. I can't stand for a period of time. I can't walk a certain distance because of pain. So what they've done is they've associated their pain with activity. Some level of dysfunction and pain are together. That singular indication tells you that the cause of pain is muscular, because what tissue is responsible for activity? It's muscle. The problem is that muscular deficits do not show up on diagnostic testing. So let's say that you had a strained front thigh muscle. You strained your quadricep muscle, and it was causing horrible pain. If you were to do an MRI, that strained quadricep cannot show up. What will show up is some level of arthritis at your knee. So since arthritis showed up at your knee, that is what they will treat. The fact that the cause was a strained quad is never identified, therefore never addressed. And the point to understand is that that quad strain, which is leading to weakness, is never going to resolve itself. So you'll continue to try to walk, stand, reach, bend, and everything else, and continue to have pain forever. No matter how many knee replacements you get, no matter how many cortisone shots you get, no matter how much longer, how long you're on opioids, the fact that you're continuing to do activity and assert that the activity brings on the symptom, you can never have the cause of your pain resolved by the existing system. I connect the cause to dysfunction and see in 98% of cases, the cause is muscular. So you may have had pain at your left front thigh, but I would do a full body evaluation. I'm not just looking at where your pain is. I'm trying to find out what muscle is involved in the creation of that pain. And in 99% of cases, the cause is not where you're experiencing the pain. So through my interpretation, I may have found that you had a severely arched lower back, along with the pain at your front thigh. That front thigh may have been shortened because of a strain, and in it being shortened caused you to arch your back. So the problem at the quad or the front thigh is creating the lower back pain. And in understanding that and resolving the quad problem, I would have simultaneously resolved your lower back pain.
But the lower back pain was because of the mattress, because as soon as I got a new mattress, the back pain was gone.
Sure, in your particular case. I'm talking about in other cases.
Oh, okay.
And you got to be very careful with what you're describing. Maybe you had a bad mattress, but I can tell you innumerable people who had back pain thought it was the mattress and then spent $10,000 on a mattress and it did nothing to resolve the pain.
I don't think you understand the purpose of this podcast. It's to provide me with free medical yeah.
I'm sorry. I was just thinking about others. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Let's both.
An honest mistake. Don't worry about it. If you have a television and you watch television, you have seen the commercials for the pills. I don't remember the names. I wouldn't say them even if I did. That say they can get rid of your pain. Pain is caused by inflammation. And if you take this fish oil or
yes,
thing,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Pain goes bye-bye.
Right.
Bunch of hooey.
Complete fallacy. So here's the problem. So what I try to explain to people is that most of the reason that chronic pain exists is cultural bias. And what I mean by that is that for 40 years, chronic pain has only existed since the mid-1980s. And the reason for that, so people understand that, was the advent of automation. People no longer did things manually, multi-directionally, and as a result, the more you sit, the less you use your muscles. That allows muscles to weaken. When you then go to use them, you strain and elicit pain. So that's basically the cause. Now, what has happened is, as the use of the MRI began, everyone began to assume that would identify the cause, and these structural abnormalities are the cause. That is a fallacy. Another fallacy is that pain and inflammation are synonymous. That if you have pain, you have inflammation. So that is another fallacy. There are 4 symptoms that must be present for inflammation to be present: pain, swelling, heat, and redness. And the reason that makes sense is that inflammation basically is what occurs when there's some sort of systemic or mechanical damage to a tissue and the body wants to try to heal it. So it's going to bring large amounts of blood to that area. That's the process that inflammation takes. So blood is warm, blood is red, blood is fluid, and there's too much of it in an area, creates pain. So you can only say inflammation exists, for instance, like with an ankle sprain. If you have those 4 symptoms, pain, swelling, heat, and redness, in the vast majority of cases I've treated, and I've treated probably 16, 17, 18,000 people over 30 years, those 3 other symptoms, swelling, heat, and redness, were not present. Therefore, you cannot use the word inflammation. I would replace that with the word irritation. That would be more accurate.
Is that why putting cold on an area that is painful is more effective to get rid of the the pain than applying heat?
So there's two different reasons for using this. When we're talking about cold taking away pain, cold is a natural anesthetic. It is the equivalent of lidocaine or Novocaine.
Yeah.
So what cold does is in the area where the pain is being experienced, it's blocking the ability of your brain to experience. It's stopping that nerve conductivity, the nerve conductivity that is the pain signal. So it stops the pain signal from being sent to the brain. Now, that's not stopping the pain signal from occurring. The tissue's still in distress, but it won't send the signal to the brain. That's how cold works on pain. Heat is if you sense that your pain or lesser pain, more soreness is associated with a muscular strain. Now we want to have heat because heat brings blood. It causes vasodilation. Blood comes into a muscle and makes the muscle stretch out more. So the pain receptors that are running along the muscle become distended, stretched out, and therefore you don't experience that much pain. So pain from a structural cause, you would want to use ice as an anesthetic. Pain associated with a muscle soreness or strain, we want to use heat.
I was chuckling because I live near a hospital, and across from the hospital is a convenience store. And I was going in for whatever, and car drove up, and a woman was walking by, and she collapsed. And at first, I thought the car had hit her, but it hadn't. The driver of the car was a nurse, and she immediately got out, looked at the woman, and I asked her if she wanted me to call 911. She said yes. And then she immediately diagnosed the woman as having an appendicitis attack. And she looked at me, and there was no question that it was, as I like to say, I ain't that type of doctor, but even I knew what that amount of pain could probably be only one thing.
Right.
And she looked at me and said, go into the convenience store and get some ice. So I went in, there was a man purchasing ice. And I said, excuse me, sir, I have to steal your ice. Mm-hmm. And I grabbed it. We took it out. I said, do I break the bag or do you want to put the whole bag on? She goes, no, it's too heavy. Just break it and we'll put the ice on. And the ambulance will be here shortly. The clerk also called the police because I had stole a bag of ice. But that's another story.
That's funny.
Yeah, the owner wasn't pleased with him because
right.
the coincidence showed up. But anyways, I've seen ice work.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying is correct. But I've also seen something else work for pain. And if I hadn't seen it, I wouldn't have believed it. An Altoid. An Altoid. Breath mint.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the story. I'm on a plane. I'm sitting in the second row in economy. And there's a little girl in pain. And they asked if there was a doctor. There was. The doctor asked if there was if anybody had any pain medication. The plane was full.
Yeah.
Nobody had pain medication.
Wow.
Which was, I still don't believe it to this day.
Yeah.
He's walking up and down and he sees the Altoids. He grabs an Altoid and he goes over to the little girl. And he looked at me because he knew that I saw what he had done. And he gave me this look, shut up, don't
right.
say anything.
Right.
And he told the little girl this was very powerful medicine. He only was going to give her half and put it on her tongue. And of course, Altoid don't taste very good, especially
right.
for a young child. So she started to cry. Within 5 minutes, she was sound asleep.
Huh.
They carried her off the plane, and from the window, I could see she didn't wake up.
Right.
And when the doctor boarded again, I looked at him and said, that's the placebo effect? He goes, yep.
Yeah.
So how does the placebo effect work in your area?
So the placebo works as it's not just my area, it's a general rule. It's anything. It's any mindset. It can be, do I feel better about this day? I can wake up and be distressed about the day. But if I can convince myself that it's going to be a good day, then I will assume it's going to be a good day. So when we're talking about the ability to resolve pain, remember that pain is a sensory response coming from a tissue in distress, which then is sent by a nerve to the brain, and the brain begins to experience it. So if I can in any way, let's say, for instance, through the use of opioids, heroin, if I could make my brain not experience that pain, then I'm not aware of pain, even though pain is still being elicited by the tissue in distress. So there's two aspects of pain: the emission of the pain from the tissue in distress and the conscious awareness of the pain that comes from the brain recognizing that that signal has been sent. So you could either resolve the distress of the tissue and stop the pain signal from being sent, which would make the person not experience pain. That's what my area of expertise is. Or you could do something that blocks that ability of the brain to become aware of it. Well, you could use a mechanism like an opioid, or religion. Anything that can convince that person that they're not experiencing it can literally convince the brain that they are not experiencing the pain. But again, remember, that's not to say that the tissue is not in distress eliciting it. They're just not acknowledging that. So placebo, and by the way, I'll tell you this, what do most people perceive the percentage of people that benefit from the placebo effect to be? Very small. Most people think 5-10%. It has been estimated that a guy who specialized in this did studies, 30 to 40% of the population in a basic mechanism will think that they are better by taking sugar water. It's a massive percentage.
To the same extent, because I want to assume that no one is lying on the commercials, it's the placebo effect for the anti-inflammatory.
The fish oil concept, right. Same concept that you're referring to. Absolutely. And the sad part is, and this is what hurts me tremendously, where are the medical police? Where is the FDA? Where are the people that are supposed to hold people accountable? Forget this, it's advertising. Where's the people who are supposed to protect people against lying?
Well, it says not approved by the FDA, not referred to.
Well, the big thing, if you watch any of these commercials in that lower right-hand corner in really, really small letters, white letters, it says results may vary. That's the disclaimer.
Sure.
That's the disclaimer that then says, hey, we didn't tell anyone was this going to work. We just put it out there. We told you it might not work for you. And that's the sad part.
Now, I don't know from heroin. I will never know from heroin, but I do know from morphine.
Oh, there you go.
Major surgery.
Yep.
And for 3 days, they gave us morphine every 4 hours.
Right.
And it gave me morphine every 4 hours. And then it was extra strength Tylenol, which is not the same. Morphine is very nice when you're when you've been filleted. Morphine is very nice. But there was a gentleman in the room with me, and he complained to the nurse. He said, I can still feel some pain, some discomfort. And he didn't get it. She tried to explain to him that that's a good thing, that they can't block off all the pain, because if something's going wrong, you have to know about it. Which brings me to my next question. When is pain a good thing?
So let me just go back and make the point about morphine. Morphine is the same as heroin. They both stem from the opium or the opium plant. So it's still a variation of it, just not as intense.
And not illegal.
Right. So here's the concept of pain. Pain is always good. Pain is part of the body's feedback system. It is the ability it's the body's attempt to make you aware that there's a tissue in distress, and some sort of intervention is required to stop the distress of that tissue. That's why you have pain. There is a huge difference between acute pain and chronic pain. That's the problem. Someone having a little pain right now, if I cut you and you had some pain associated with it, you're going to actually be, thank God I have pain. Now I see that I'm bleeding and I need to get some stitches. So thank you, pain. But if I just kept taking a little hammer and tapping you on your arm every 5 minutes, every day for the next 3 years, the next time I tried to tap you, you'd want to kill me or kill yourself. And the reason is because you've gone beyond the body's initial or in basic premise of having pain, which is a short-term mechanism to create awareness of distress. That is why chronic pain is so devastating. That is why people are willing to take heroin, opioids for it. That is why hundreds and if not millions of people have committed suicide as a result of chronic pain. Chronic pain never existed in the history of mankind until it began in the mid to late 1980s. The opioid epidemic began in the early 1990s as a result of it. Chronic pain has existed for 40 years. The suicide rate globally has gone up. Depression rates have gone up. The amount of money that has been lost on work productivity, relationships have collapsed, all because chronic pain exists due to misdiagnosis. And there is no question that chronic pain is very, very, I was just a girl today. I was just had her in here today. And she came in and we were trying to understand her pain. And while I'm just talking to her, the first 2 to 3 minutes, she becomes hysterical crying. She basically, I can't take this anymore. I have been living with this for so long, I just can't accept another moment of it. And she's frantic. And I was able to calm her down and, in fact, be able to make the pain go away with this one treatment that I did with her. And what did that do? That treatment gave her hope. And this is the problem with chronic pain. And this is why it's not just the pain that's so devastating people. It's the loss of hope that I'll ever get a chance to experience life without it. That's the part of chronic pain that is so devastating. It is the emotional and spiritual attachment to the physical pain. That's what's making everyone have such difficulty. And so in my initial treatment with somebody, what I'm trying to get across to them is first an emotional and spiritual understanding that not only am I going to make your physical pain go away, but there's going to be a point at which you'll never have to experience it. And most importantly, you have control over preventing it from ever reoccurring. That's what you really want to understand about chronic pain. Chronic pain is not simply just pain lasting for a period of time. It's a pain that leads to a sense of hopelessness and loss of control of your life. That's why this stuff is so devastating.
Just want to make sure I understand correctly. Acute pain is something that's short-term, one and done. Chronic is the opposite. It's long.
Correct. By definition, chronic pain is sustained pain that's lasts more than 3 to 6 months. That is the separation between acute and chronic.
Okay. Now, I'll use myself as the example again. As I said, horrible back pain. Got the new bed. Went to sleep. Woke up. And for the first time in months, no pain. And when I stood up, I said, something's not right. Something feels weird. I missed the pain. I was so used to it. It was part of me. I don't want to draw analogies, but the only thing I can think of is a phantom pain when somebody, God forbid, loses a limb. Yeah. Their brain is still telling them that there's pain there. The loss of pain, because I told this to a couple of people, and they go, "You're not crazy." Well, you are crazy, but not in this case.
Not for this.
Not for this. It happened to me too. Why is pain something that we want to get rid of, and when we get rid of it, we miss it?
It's so here's a great, I'll give you the perfect analogy. Why does the woman who's beaten never want to leave the marriage?
Oh yeah.
It's the same premise. What you got to dig is that
it's the evil that you know.
It's comfort in something that I'm used to. Yeah. And so I'll tell you, like a whack, I treated this 21-year-old boy. He had back pain since he was 15. The last year of his life, the last year of that 21-year period, He laid on a concrete floor in a fetal position for that year. He could not even move outside of that position without having back pain. And he succumbed to the idea, I would rather live on the floor for a year in pain. Think of how crazy this would sound to somebody in that fetal position for fear that any movement outside of that will cause pain I cannot tolerate. So through some, in my opinion, God's path, I got a chance. He found me and I treated him. By my first session with him, he was already seeing a reduction in pain. 3 months later, he was pain-free. I've known him now for a year to 2 years. He's now back to weightlifting. He swims 500 laps and all this other kind of stuff. At one point, about 3 to 4 months out, he says, I want to have a session with you, but I do not want it to be about the strength training. I need to talk to you. This is exactly what we're talking about. He says, I need you to understand something, and I feel very strange about saying this to you, but I am overwhelmingly anxious about the ability of me to now move in a way I haven't before. You did take my pain away, but in doing that, I am now moving more freely, and the fear that any of this movement can bring back that pain, I don't think I can take that. And I am becoming massively anxious about this. And what I talked to him about was, well, I understand that. And that's logical. I understand where you're coming from. So why don't we set a pathway for you to reduce your anxiety? So let's say, why don't we try to get you to walk 10 feet and come back? Just walk 10 feet and come back. And let's see if you were able to do that without pain. If you were able to do that, you have proof to your brain that there's something you could do without having to be fetal in a fetal position. Okay, so that's our baseline. Now I want to walk 20 feet, 30 feet, 40 feet, eventually a mile. And so what I did was we literally had to prove to his brain in small chunks that we could extend out his functionality without the chance of having pain.
So
and we just continued to progress that out.
You created new neural pathways.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really what you're saying is a very, very viable point. And unfortunately, I think that most practitioners focus on the pain itself, the physical nature of pain. But I found enlightenment like 4 or 5 years ago. And so everybody that walks in my door, I see physically, mentally, and spiritually, and I can sense the connection. And I have to make sure all 3 of those areas are whole before I know that person will be fully functional and able to live their life, happily.
I can't believe it's already almost been a half hour.
Yeah.
I'm going to put up your contact information. I'm going to make us miraculously appear. And I'm going to ask you one final question. Is there anything that I did not ask you that you wish I had asked you? And if I had asked you, what would you have said?
I really think the purpose I exist on Earth, and the thing I want people to understand is that just because you've tried all the standards of care that exist and you have not had your pain resolved, does not mean you're crazy, does not mean it's your fault, does not mean you're blaming yourself from some past thing that happened that didn't work out for you. I want you to understand that there is a strong possibility that you just haven't gotten the right diagnosis, that the right tissue, that you haven't identified the tissue in distress, which allows you to resolve your pain. So please always consider continuing your process of syncing. Now, if you happen to be fortunate enough to see this, by all means, Google my name. I've got 300 videos on YouTube. I've done lots of writing. And if this makes sense to you, please seek it out. It's very different. There's nobody else trying to tell people that in 98% of cases, the cause of pain is muscular, and MRIs can't identify that. So please, please, please do not reach a point at which you think there's nothing left to do. That is a very dangerous place to get. So that to me is the message for anybody I could speak to. There is an answer to your pain. It's about finding the right tissue. You have to go to a person who's in an appropriate position to do an appropriate type of diagnostic method, which is what the Yass method is. And so please seek it out if you find out about this.
Well, Mitchell, thank you very much. This has been extremely important and enlightening, and I'm sure all of our viewers appreciate it.
Thank you, Bruce, for giving me the chance to speak to your viewers, and I really appreciate that.
As do I. Thank you for watching. This is Bruce Hurwitz. As always, please stay focused on success.